Hi readers. Today in Reader's Workshop, we're going to start out by talking about what we already know. I need you to take a couple minutes and with your teacher, I want you to review what a great reading experience looks like. Pause the video here to do that. Okay, now I want you to talk about how to choose a book that's just right. I know I keep bringing this up, but this is the key to becoming a better reader. You have to be choosing books that are just right for you. Take a couple minutes, talk it over with your teacher, use the reference in the back of the room. How do we choose a book that is just right? Pause it here. Okay, now let's talk about some of our strategies. What do you do when you come to a word that you don't know? Pull out your folders, make sure that you have your list in front of you of all the strategies you can try when you come to an unknown word. After that, let's talk about what you do when you are reading a story and the movie in your mind stops running or you get confused. What do you do? Right, you stop, you go back and you reread to clear up confusion. If you keep rereading and there's multiple parts that just don't make sense, then maybe you need to check and make sure that the book is a good fit for you. Let's move on to today's lesson. Today's lesson, we're going to talk about how we can retell the key parts of a story. This is a huge thing. When you're retelling a story, and you might know when you come up and you read to me and you retell a story, two things can happen. Sometimes children come up and they say, oh, there was a boy in the story, he had an argument with his brother and in the end they got along. That's not enough to be retelling. Okay, we need to know more details. Or the opposite could happen. Someone might come up and they might go on and on and on and tell me what the characters in the story were wearing and what their hair looked like and every little thing. Okay, we don't need to hear every little thing. So we don't want to tell too little, but we don't want to tell too much. I'm going to give you an example of what a retelling should look like. Everybody knows the story Each Kindness because we've talked about it, we've read about it. Remember in this story, there was a little girl, this is her here, and she went to a school where a new student came in. So I'm going to show you what a good retelling might look and sound like, okay? And then today, after you do your reading and when your teacher or Mrs. Bach come around, you're going to practice doing a good retelling of your story, okay? A good retelling should be maybe 1 or 2 minutes long, not 20 minutes long, and not 20 seconds, okay? So let's pretend that you came around to confer with me about what I was reading. I would say, I read the story Each Kindness. In this story, it was about a little girl who went to a school, and one day her principal came in and introduced a new student named Maya. She noticed right away that Maya looked a little bit different. Her clothes were tattered. She just looked like she was not put together as well as the other students. Maya wanted to be friends with everybody, and she kept trying day after day to become friends with them. And the people in this girl's school just were not welcoming. They made fun of her, they wouldn't include her. And then one day, Maya wasn't at school. And this little girl wondered where she was. But then the next day, Maya wasn't at school. And it happened for several days. Then the teacher came in and they did a lesson on how being kind is super important. And they each threw a rock in a bucket of water. And the teacher said, when you see the rock hit the water ripples out. And so when they threw the rock in, they each had to say one thing that they did that was kind. And they would watch the water ripple out because it shows how kindness spreads. When it came to Maya's turn, she had nothing to say. She hadn't been kind to anybody. So that night she made a pact with herself that the next day she was, not when it was Maya's turn, when it was the little girl in the story's turn, she decided that she was going to go home. When she got home, she decided that the next day she was going to go out of her way to be kind to Maya. The problem was that Maya never returned to school. Maya moved away. The teacher announced that Maya moved away, and she never once got to be kind to Maya. So she learned a really hard lesson. She never got to show that kindness to Maya. And to the day that she wrote this book, she always regretted it. Okay? There you go. So, I talked about the main characters in the story. I didn't give every little detail, but I gave the most important parts. And at the end, I told what the lesson was that they learned. I want you practicing this today, okay? When the teacher, Mrs. Bach, comes around and they ask you what your story is about, try giving as many details as you can without giving too many details. This can be tough, so I want you practicing it. When the teacher comes around today, or Mrs. Bach, this is the one they're going to be looking at on your rubric. I can retell sections of the text while pulling out the important stuff from the story. So they're going to check, yes, you can do that, you're starting to get it, or not yet. I hope everyone will be in this column, okay? Before you get started, please take a minute to go over your non-negotiables. Boys and girls, please make sure you're working hard, you have the movie running through your mind, and do a great job. Have a great day.